This is a story about a hero, immensely powerful, and he was betrayed by his own people. His power was so great that ordinary humans began to fear him, yet he continued to protect them. One day, while saving them, he lost his life. When he stood before God, he made a wish. In my next life, I want a normal life. Suddenly, our main character, Alan, opens his eyes. Then his younger brother called him. Come on, Dad is calling. As Alan walks, his younger brother saying, because of you, I've faced so many difficulties all my life, but now Dad won't leave you. Alan stands before his father. His father says, you have lived in the ducal house for more than 15 years, but your power level is still the same. Your power status is completely normal. And worst of all, you have no power at all. God gave everyone powers in this world, yet somehow you don't have any. How foolish you must be to not understand this. Then Alan replies, I do understand this very well. His father continues, because of you, our family's reputation is being dishonored. You are our eldest son, and you have no power. Therefore, I am expelling you from the family. Alan stands outside, thinking, I never imagined I'd be born into a duke's house. Then he thinks about his past life. It wasn't very good, but now he's free, and he can live his life as he wishes. Alan leaves the city and sits in a forest and started fishing. While the fishing, he was thinking, perhaps no one in this world fears me, so I can live my life peacefully. Then he notices some monsters attacking humans, and the situation is becoming worse there. Then he sees a knight named Beatrice was fighting the monsters. She attacks them, but the monsters keep regenerating. Beatrice wonders how she will save Princess Reese, so she tells the princess to leave. But Reese doesn't listen. Seeing Reese, Alan recalls he'd met her before, at a party where everyone was talking about him negatively. They called him a failure, saying the Westfeld family name was ruined because of him. But Reese had told everyone to calm down. He is not a failure. Then, he decides, I will save Princess Reese. Meanwhile, a monster attacks Beatrice, injured her. Reese becomes extremely worried. Then, Alan uses his power and rushes toward the princess. Just as another monster is about to attack her, Reese shouts Alan's name. Suddenly, Alan arrives and grabs the monster. Reese is shocked. What are you doing here? She asks. Alan says, we'll talk about that later. First, let me deal with them. Alan uses his divine ice power, which allows him to see the source of each monster. Then he unleashes his 100 sword technique, destroy all the monsters right there. Beatrice and Reese are stunned. Beatrice apologizes to Reese. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. Reese becomes emotional seeing that. Then Alan approaches Beatrice and heals her with his healing power. Fully recovered, Beatrice and Reese are shocked at what Alan has done. Alan thinks, I can't tell them about my past life. There I was a hero, and the powers I had then, I possess in this life too. Beatrice speculates, maybe God granted you healing magic, something nobody knows about. Alan interrupts and asks Reese, what are you doing here? You're a princess. You should be in the castle. Reese explains, some time ago, I received information that my country needs me. So I was headed to Colm Village with Beatrice, because that's where the information came from. Then she turns to Alan. And what are you doing here? Alan suggests, why don't we talk in the carriage? Reese notes the carriage is broken, but Alan uses his magic to fully repair it. The girls are amazed. They board the carriage and begin journeying toward the village. On the way, Reese asks Alan, why were you expelled from the Westfeld family? Alan answers, because Dad thinks I have no power and my presence tarnishes the family name. Then he continues, if the kingdom learns I have these powers, they'll come after me. Beatrice says, you're right, we should escort you home. Reese refuses, I can't put my friend in danger for the country. I want to help, so he can live a good life. Alan is very happy hearing this. In the next scene, they arrive at Colm Village, but they are shocked. The village is deserted, and there is no human left. It seems a monster attack. Alan says, that's not possible. If that had happened, I would have sensed their presence. Beatrice replies, since you've been with us, no monster has attacked us. Reese suggests, maybe hunters killed all the monsters, or perhaps they're afraid to enter the village. Then, they spot people gathered in one part. People here perhaps came for some task. Then, they see a man pulling a girl out of her house. Reese recognizes the girl. They know her as Akira. Reese asks, what are you doing here? But Akira doesn't remember Reese. She says, who are you? How do you know my name? Reese gets angry. You're the one who came to me and told me about the danger. Akira apologizes. Actually, I don't remember anyone's name. Meanwhile, Beatrice asks Alan, "Do you know about Braver?" Alan says, "What is that?" "I don't know anything." Beatrice explains, "Braver is a kind of power skill that God grants to only one person, and that power is immense. Whoever gets it is called a hero." Reese adds, "Akira has that power. She is a hero." Beatrice continues, "Lady Reese has lightning power too." Alan wonders, have they come here to save the hero? They arrive at a restaurant, where Akira begins explaining. She was passing through the village when she met a little girl. The villagers were about to sacrifice that girl to a dragon. Hearing this, Akira came to speak to the village chief, but he listened to none of her words. Beatrice says, "Maybe that dragon terrified all the people." Alan responds, "No, something else is going on. It's too easy for that dragon. I feel like the entire village is meant to be sacrificed." Beatrice says, "That could explain why we didn't see any monsters along the way. They would be hidden fear from the dragon." And then they ask, "Where is that little girl?" Akira says, "I dropped her off in a cave. If I had taken her with me, I could have gotten into trouble. Now I'm going back alone to slay that dragon." Alan asks Akira, "The villagers didn't ask you to kill that dragon, so why are you doing it?" Akira answers, "Because that girl asked me, and I have to save her life." The two girls decide to join Akira, and she thanks Alan, saying he saved their lives. Alan says, "Why don't I go with you?" Reese asks, "What happened to your mission? You were supposed to start a new journey." Alan replies, "You're right, but I can't leave my friends in danger, so I will go with you." Then they all arrive in the forest. Akira shares her plan. "I will face the dragon first, and you attack from the side." Then Reese asks Akira, "Will you really go before the dragon for that girl?" Akira reply, "Are you doubting my power, that I cannot go and face that dragon?" Reese replies, No, I fully trust your power." Then Alan says to Akira, "I can go from the front too." Then Akira says, "If you go from the front, I'll feel that you defeated the dragon. And I know you're not ordinary. We must defeat the dragon together first, then battle each other." Now Akira steps forward to fight the dragon. She tells the others to come from behind. They climb the hill. Suddenly, an explosion echoes. Akira has already started fighting the dragon. She lands dangerous attacks, but the dragon is unaffected. The dragon mocks her. "You humans call yourselves heroes. You have no power, and your all attacks are worthless." Hearing this, Akira got angry, and Akira unleashes even more power. But still, the dragon is unharmed. Then Akira notices the little girl she had met before. Then she asks her, "What is that girl doing here?" Then, the dragon says, "She is the same girl I spared." Hearing this, Akira is shocked. "Why did you leave her alive?" The dragon explains, "I spared her intentionally. I saw the fear in her eyes, and I liked that. I have no interest in killing people, and I enjoy seeing fear on all your human faces, just like now on your face." Furious, Akira attacks directly, but the dragon counters with a devastating strike. Akira is thrown far and collapses severely wounded. The dragon approaches, ready to kill her. At that moment, Alan arrives and cuts through the dragon's wing. The dragon is shocked. "How did you do this? You're just an ordinary human." Alan says, "Do I seem ordinary to you?" He uses his power to peer into the dragon's core. But the dragon continues to insult him. "You are a weak human, nothing more." Alan looks at the princess, hope shining in her eyes. He realizes that people had always misjudged him, but a princess showed him understanding. He harnesses his formidable power and strikes the dragon, finishing it instantly. A brilliant blue light erupts, clearing away dark clouds in the sky. As the dragon dies, it gasps, "How did this boy defeat me? They never told me that someone as powerful as him would arrive." Alan has exhausted much of his power in that battle, and now he's exhausted. When he opens his eyes, he finds Reese sitting beside him. He asks, "Where are Beatrice and Akira?" Reese explains, "They are busy with their training. I was about to say something, but hesitated, because you saw my healing power." Alan had heard that a girl traveling helps her wounded friends with healing magic, earning the title of saint. He didn't know she was Princess Reese. Reese apologizes for keeping it secret. Alan says, "You're not a saint or a princess to me. You are a good friend." Reese feels better hearing this. Akira calls Alan. She wants to train with him. After training, they prepare to go their separate ways. Reese offers Akira a ride, but Akira prefers to travel alone. The little girl becomes attached to Akira, and Akira decides to care for her. However, Akira is troubled. Despite being a hero, she failed to defeat the dragon. She doesn't feel worthy of the title. She believes her divine sword should belong to Alan, but Alan refuses. "Look at that little girl. You're her hero. You should care for her. Akira's eyes fill with tears, but before she can speak, they have already departed. Next, we see Alan's father. His entire plan has failed. He intended to use the red dragon to kill Princess Reese and the hero. Hearing this, Brett is furious. He had sent many monsters to kill Reese before, and now even the red dragon has failed. Craig tells him to stay calm. They will need materials for the next plan. Brett worries that both the princess and Akira might escape. Craig says that wherever they go, they remain in the kingdom, and they'll have another chance. Then Craig asks his henchman about the elf. He says, "Don't worry, I'll bring his head to you." He wants revenge on this god and the kingdom. That's why he's doing this. Unaware of his father's plan, Alan travels with Reese to see a blacksmith. Their sword is broken and they need a new one. Reese knows a blacksmith who is an elf and can forge a fine sword. Reese wants to apologize to Alan for involving him in all this. The blacksmith's home is far, so they decide to stay overnight nearby. Reese got tired and she falls asleep by Alan, but instantly she wakes up, overwhelmed by shame. Beatrice reassures her. "Alan was your fiancé at one time. There's no shame in that." Alan says, "Yes, you can sleep comfortably." Reese hesitates, embarrassed, and later Beatrice and Reese both fall asleep. Then Alan remembers their first meeting at the royal banquet, and Reese wanted to get to know him better. And Alan wonders why she wanted that. Reese reveals that they are going to be engaged. The next day, they reach Graham City, and people there are very kind. Reese says the blacksmith's home is a bit farther, but Beatrice finds the home strange. No hammering sound coming from inside. Then Alan tells them, "Wait here, I'll check." He sees the door open. Then they enter the house. Alan starts inspecting the elf's creations. Then he hears Reese's panicked voice. When he goes to her, he sees the elf is unconscious. Beatrice reassures, "Don't worry, she is alive and just fainted. That's normal. When she works, she eats and sleeps nothing for 3-4 days. She is in a deep sleep." Reese uses her healing power to revive her. Noelle recognizes the two girls, but Alan is new to. Then Beatrice explains, "He is our temporary bodyguard." Noelle realized they would need a sword, but she says she has no time. Her schedule is too tight. However, she spots Alan's broken sword and recognizes it as her work. She examines it and notes that Alan used it to its limit. She changes her mind, decides to make a new sword for him. But before forging, Noelle asks, "Would you use a sword that is more powerful even than a divine sword? Because only a hero can wield a divine sword." Noelle senses Alan can wield a sword even more powerful, but no blacksmith crafts a divine sword without cause. She realizes that Alan is extremely powerful and can handle it. She asks him, how could anyone refuse such an offer? Alan accepts. Then Noelle returns to work and get them out of the house. They decide to stay in a nearby village hotel, but someone is watching them. The girl is Craig's henchman's partner, named Horace. Seeing Alan with Reese shocks her, and she wants to know, who is he? Next, we see the three staying at the hotel. They have nothing to do, so the girls suggest going to a nearby guild to sell dragon materials. Alan agrees and heads to the guild. The girls say they'll go to the market, but they have a deeper reason and don't want to get Alan involved. Alan reaches the guild and shows the reception the dragon materials. The receptionist is shocked and brings it to the guild master. Horace arrives and interrogates Alan. He lies so they won't suspect him. First, he introduces himself and his partner. We're travelers covering adventure stories. Horace asks, "Did you defeat that dragon alone?" Alan says, "No, my partners were with me." Horace guesses correctly that a hero was with them, and he's about to ask more. Then the receptionist arrives, and they disappears from the guild. Horace realizes that Alan is Craig's son, yet he was surprised that Alan had no powers, though he survived that dragon alive. But Mylene is not convinced. She senses something wrong in Alan. The next day, the three of them go to see Noelle, but she is still unconscious. Reese uses her healing magic to restore her, and Noelle reveals she has forged a perfect sword for Alan. She is its creator, and she wants to see it in use. But Reese doesn't allow her to go. Noelle is still weak. Once Noelle is fully recovered, they come to a forest to test the sword. Alan finds it strange that Noelle is an elf, and yet a blacksmith. Noelle explains that as a child she was orphaned and adopted by a dwarf named Vanessa, who never taught her forging, but Noelle still regarded her as master. Noelle feels embarrassed sharing personal details and slips away shyly. Alan then meets Horace and Mylene, but Noel calls him away and they leave. Somehow Horace is hiding a secret there. He tells his partner to keep an eye on the two. Alan tests his new sword, slaying many monsters with one swing. Then Noel examines the sword and she was shocked. Alan wielded it so well that there's no scratch on the blade, and it is not dulled. But Noel wants to test more of his skills. They venture deeper into the misty forest where a massive wolf monster awaits. Noel is terrified. Do whatever it takes, but kill this monster. Then we see a flashback. Noel had asked her master to stop, but her master was engrossed in forging a sword. She worked without eating or sleeping, and finally completed it. In the present, Alan tells Noel, I know you want me to kill it, but it's sleeping and not attacking. We shouldn't strike first. Noel replies, I want revenge. It killed my master. Alan says, I understand your grief, but your sword may not defeat it. Next scene, Alan asks the princess why they came here. Reese explains, a royal family member died mysteriously. The only thing left was his head. They suspect a demon may be behind it. Alan doubts it. We see Horace's partner standing before the wolf. They wonder how powerful Alan truly is. The girl begins to feed information to Horace, and from her words, it seems she doesn't want to kill Alan. Horace says, don't worry, you will have to kill him. Then hypnotizes her with magic and orders her to kill Alan. Meanwhile, Noel is still working on the sword. Alan had told her what was wrong with it. She determines this time to forge it as a legendary blade without any flaw left. Then her past returns. Her master was going to fight the wolf with her sword. Noel tries to stop her, but the master doesn't listen. The wolf's barrier was powerful, that her master's sword was shattered. Then the wolf finishes her right before Noel. Seeing this, she got faint. And now the wolf is attacking Noel. But a hero appears and saves her. The hero fights the wolf, managing to harm it with the sword. After a tense fight, the hero defeats the wolf. The hero then asks Noel, Child, are you okay? But Noel just whispers in disbelief, My master's sword, on which she worked so hard, could not withstand it. Yet your sword defeated it. How? The hero asks, Are you all right? Noel doesn't answer, lost in her thoughts. She resolves, I will forge a sword powerful enough to never break. In the present, Noel has completed the legendary sword. She carries it into the forest, whispering, I'm sorry for taking it. She approaches the wolf and strikes, but the wolf flies up and throws her away. The sword is unharmed, but Noel is slightly injured. The wolf moves toward her and Horace appears beside it. He says, I know you're powerful and I want you to join our team. And if you don't do that, or you refuse, this wolf will kill you. Noel responds, Shut up, I will not join your team. I know you will misuse my power, and I will avenge my master. Horace retorts, You made a terrible decision, at the worst time. Now you must die. He orders the wolf to attack Noel, but Alan arrives and stands before it. Horace says, Oh, you showed up too. Good, your death is written here. I thought you were someone else, but now I know you're that boy. You appear powerful. Alan says, Yes, you've learned I'm powerful. Now you will die here. You made a grave mistake. Remember, my companion and princess are still alone. My ally already went to ambush them. Alan continues, Yes, I knew you would do something like this, so I set a trap. She's trapped now and my companions will handle her. Meanwhile, Beatrice is fighting Horace's partner. The girl overpowers Beatrice, strikes her away, and seizes the princess, ready to kill. The princess says, I see it in your eyes. You don't want to kill us. At that moment, Beatrice attacks from behind with her sword, and the girl faints. On the other side, Alan prepares to fight the wolf. Horace taunts, Do you think your worthless sword can slay my wolf? He orders the wolf to attack Alan, but Alan swings the legendary sword and severs the wolf's head in one blow. The sword is immensely powerful, a legendary blade forged by Noel. Seeing this, scared Horace flew away. Alan has saved Noel and he was taking her home. On the way, he meets the princess, and she asks, Are you both all right? Alan says, Yes, I'm fine, and I saved her. Next scene, it shows Horace's partner tied up. Then Reese asks, I know you were hypnotized and you didn't want to kill us. Tell us, who is behind this? Who wants us dead? Then Beatrice says, We shouldn't trust anything she says, and she came to kill the princess. Then Princess replies, No, I don't think so. I saw it in her eyes. She didn't want to kill me. On the side, Noel listens quietly. Then Noel suddenly remembers, when she was young, she was adopted by her master. She approaches the tied girl and says, I will take care of her. Leave her with me, and I want to adopt her. Hearing this, the girl is shocked. No one had ever done something like this for her. Then Noel says, I will keep her with me and teach her many things. But Beatrice tell her to not to do that. But Noel says, don't worry, I'll take care of her. But if she misbehaves, I will punish her. Hearing this, Alan agrees and says, at last, it's over. Now, Alan goes back into the forest to practice with his sword. His attacks are immensely powerful. Meanwhile, Horace sits alone, thinking, I made a good escape from there. If I had stayed there any longer, I would probably have been killed. Then he sensed someone attacking him, so he jumped down to escape. Seeing this, he was shocked. Who attacked him? And how did the attack reach so far? Then we see a massive demon arrive and ask, oh, so you're the person. Then he kills that old man on the spot. Alan hears the attack and rushes there. He sees a severed head. It belongs to that old man. But now the demon reaches Alan's father, and Alan's brother says, you did good job to killing that old man. If we didn't do this, he would have revealed our entire plan. Now your next mission is to eliminate the princess and all her companions. Then we see Princess Rize's past. When she was a child, she was traveling with her uncle. Suddenly, monsters attacked their carriage. Her uncle Alfred fought them to save her. She watched everything. A monster attacked the carriage. Her uncle fought it, but the monster counterattacked, severely injuring him. In trying to kill the monster, her uncle fell into a river, and Rize lost him. Now, in the present, they arrive at a village. The villagers are happy and preparing something. Alan asks a man, what's happening today? The man says, we are preparing to summon the spirits of our ancestors. Alan asks, who does that? Beatrice finds it strange and becomes alert. The villagers explain, it's our festival. We dress ghostly and dance in front of fire. You can call it a Halloween festival. Rize asks, have you seen a silver-armored man here? She heard rumors he was seen here. Unfortunately, the villagers heard nothing. She thinks it might be a rumor. Then they spot a man whose body movements are strange. Alan notices and suspects something odd because they had asked Noel earlier about a general serial killer, but they had no clue. Beatrice says even a tiny clue could help. Noel recalls a regular customer telling her there's a ghost in a nearby village wearing silver armor with bloodstains. Maybe it bears a grudge against the royal family, and it seems to appear only at night in the cemetery. Suddenly, Mylene drops something, and Beatrice screams, and it clearly see that she is terrified of ghosts. Rize clarifies she will investigate the village. Alan suspects a demon may be behind it. Only demons can resurrect the dead. Mylene and Rize scare Beatrice with ghost stories, and that's why they came to investigate. Then they go to the cemetery. Beatrice is in full fight mode, and the strange man is following them. He leads them to the village head's house. It looks like a haunted house. Alan asks him, why were you at the cemetery? He says, I was just passing by. I saw you, so I came to help. They enter the house. The village head says he heard no ghost rumors, and Rize becomes saddened. He offers them to stay one night, as it's festival time, and they agree. That night, Rize once again dreams of her uncle Alfred. She was close to him and considered him like her father. Alfred came to tell her he would go away for a while, and she should trust her people. As much as she trusts them, she stays connected. Suddenly, Rize waits and goes to the window, seeing the silver-armored man. He looks just like Alfred. She follows him, reaching the cemetery. Suddenly, all the dead corpses rise and attack her. Alan wakes her from sleep. She was screaming. The next morning, the festival begins. The inhabitants dress as ghosts and gather. Alan says to Beatrice, you're a knight, you should stop this tradition. She replies, no one is being harmed, so we can't stop it. They sit and watch the dancing. The strange man approaches and says, don't just sit, enjoy the festival, go dance. Rize says she wants to rest. The others go dance. Suddenly, Rize hears her uncle's voice and follows it into the forest, reaching him. Alfred stands before her and says the forest at night is dangerous. Shocked, Rize asks, Uncle, where have you been? We searched everywhere, and we never found your body. Alfred reveals he wanted revenge on the royal family, so he hid. He says the king and brother wanted her dead, because any child with an inborn gift is a threat. They feared she could destroy the kingdom. Alfred says he wants to save her, and asks her to join his side. Rize hesitates. If she approached her father, a session could be convened. She recalls Alfred telling her to trust her people. Hearing this, he attacks her. Alan arrives and saves her. Alfred recognizes him as the same useless boy and princess fiancé. Alan doesn't react. He uses his power to free Alfred from someone controlling him. Rize doesn't understand what Alan did. Alfred explains. He was already dead, and those behind the attempt to kill Reese were actually demons. He reveals that he was second-born, so his elder brother was made king, and most of them tried to create a misunderstanding between us. So I decided to become a knight. I could earn his name. Now his time is short, and he asks Alan two things. First, to protect Reese. Second, to fight him so he can test Alan's power. And at last, Alan wins the fight. Alfred is relieved and tells Reese she has to be sad, and she must find her own happiness. Alan goes to meet the village chief. From the moment he arrived, he knew all villagers were dead already, and the village chief controls them. He is a demon. Maybe not inherently. The demon says to Alan, "Your thinking is so simple." Then he summons his undead to attack Alan, hoping to recruit him into his army. But Alan frees all the undead from his control, then kills the demon. From the demon's body, he obtains a stone. The demon then appears to Alan's father and says they have failed again, but his father remains said, "Our plan will not change because we now have Archbishop's head." And we see, they return to Noel's village. Alan tries to examine the stone and realizes the energy inside is Brett's, that is, his brother's. They understand that Uncle's body's head was part of his own body, and the general's head was missing, except his body. Alan senses there is a connection in between. Then Princess Reese receives a message that General Serial has returned. But how can someone return who is already dead? We then see Alan's past. His younger brother Brett always teased him, and he felt Alan always looked down on him. Others treated him poorly, and he can't do anything properly. He was known as a failure. One day, Brett met his father Crage, who promised him to avenge the gods and the kingdom. Brett began supporting his father's plan and believing only he can rule. In the present, news spreads across the kingdom. General Serial has returned. People ask, if he is already dead, how did he return then? Captain Edward hears all this. His assistant asks, "Do you think General Serial has returned, or is this a rumor?" Edward says they don't need to overthink. They are premium knights, and their main task is to stop those who threaten the kingdom. If General Serial had truly returned, he would act likewise, and they should follow his example. Later, they walk into a deserted street, and where they encounter with a strange old man. Clark fears he might attack, but Edward stops him, because the man is an archbishop. Then the old man said he wants to speak in private. Edward agrees, though Clark is feeling uneasy. But Edward says they must remain focused, and assures him he won't wander. Then the archbishop leads him into a ruined mansion. Edward asks, "Why did you bring me here?" Then the archbishop departs, and says, "That was all I could do." Suddenly, Crage attacks Edward from behind. But Edward is highly skilled, and he easily blots the attack. And Edward already knew Crage, and they last met at Crage's wife's funeral. Then Edward asks, "What brings you here?" Crage replies, "The archbishop is already under my control." Then, immediately, he attacks again at Edward. Edward realizes Crage has done something serious. Then, Crage recalls his wife's death and says, she didn't belong to this world anymore. And Brett then remembers the time he saw his mother dead. He was very young and didn't understand that why she was sleeping. Alan told him his mother is died because Brett was deemed a failure. He lost his mother too. Then Brett asks Alan, "What is a failure?" Alan tells him not to worry, and people make careless comments. But Brett ignores him, because even their father considered Brett as a failure. And after that, Brett's status then surpassed Alan, and he began seeing Alan as the failure. But one day, Brett asked Alan, "Doesn't it upset you when they call you a failure?" But Alan remained unaffected by others' words. In the present, a man approaches and reports him, "Our plan is unfolding exactly as we intended." "Brett, what about your side of the plan?" Brett replies, "We've taken control of the Archbishop and used him to deceive Edward. But Edward's gift is becoming problematic. He has the power that he can cancel anyone's power." Brett reassures, "Don't worry. My father will handle him. If he fails, I will use my ability to control him myself." Then another person arrives and says, "The hero has returned, and we should begin our plan." The first man says, "I am helping with your plan, but there must be no mistakes." Meanwhile, Akira has arrived with the little girl and considers staying here. But she senses someone watching them. She takes the girl to a secluded area and summons the others, because she knew they were following her. They intend to kill Akira, a hero, because even together, they cannot defeat her. They cast a spell that threatens the girl's life. The demon explains, Everyone from the girl's village has a magic mark on their bodies, using their life to form a living bomb. If fire touches the girl, she will explode. But Akira decides not to abandon the girl, and the demons attack. Scene cuts to Clark. A mysterious man appears in front of him. Clark stops his soldiers. He senses this man is powerful. The man says, "I didn't come to harm you. I'm here to reveal the world's reality." Then we see General Serial and the bishop, both controlled by Brett. The archbishop declares, "God lied to us. The powers given to humans were never gifts." Serial begins explaining, "Suppose you wanted to be something else, but God's gift prevented it. So it's not a gift. You've become a puppet of God. You are forced to do things you were never meant to." The archbishop continues, "There is a way to escape God's control, but the public believed those gifts were powerful abilities that helped save the kingdom." To clear public doubts, General Serial calls Brett forward. Using his power, Brett summons a monster. General Serial tells everyone, "This monster has the strength of 10,000 soldiers." The crowd doubts, "You can't just exchange your power like that." Brett says, "Yes, you can. Use my special ability, Marionette."
The monster's ability can extract others' abilities, very different from their gifts. Everyone agrees, but they worry. If Brett dies, what then? Brett responds, "Nothing, because we now have demons on our side." The crowd is shocked. Brett calms them. "Don't worry. Demons are with us. They revealed these abilities to us. Work with demons and choose your life. Free yourself from gifts." Meanwhile, Crage is overpowering Edward. Edward realizes Crage is not using his gift, but his actual level power. Crage explains, "Level is more powerful than gift. As your level grows, your soul strengthens. You can become supreme existence, i.e. God." We see Clark listening. This man is telling him the same things Brett did. Clark protests, "We are knights. Our duty is to protect the kingdom." The powerful man begins killing them, one by one. But Beatrice arrives just then. Crage had nearly defeated Edward and was about to kill him. Akira arrives and saves him. When the demons attacked Akira with fire, a shield appeared, etched into Akira's sword, to protect her. Brett believed his plan was working, until Alan arrives. Alan pulls a hologram device from his pocket, displaying Beatrice, and shows it publicly, so people can hear her account. Beatrice stands before the demon and accuses, "You conspired with Duke Westfeld to kill the general, and now you hunt the princess. What is your intention?" Meanwhile, Mylene uses her invisible magic to livestream this. Before killing her, the demon begins confessing. Their target are those born with gifts, like the general and the princess, because they could become threats. They decided to manipulate minds, so humans would abandon their gifts willingly. For Alan, this was enough to expose Brett's plan. Brett interrupts, "You didn't need to disrupt my plan." The princess tells everyone, "The monster Brett summoned was the same sent to kill me." Brett's plan collapses, and he blames Alan. Brett attempts to use magic to control people, but Alan breaks his spell. Brett becomes furious and summons more monsters. People scatter. The princess instructs, "Go to a safe area." Alan blames himself. He should have paid attention to Brett, but he had warned Brett that if he chose a wrong path, Alan would stop him. The moment had come. Brett attacks Alan, but Alan catches his strings and knocks him out with a single punch. With Brett neutralized, everything comes under control. Alan tells Liz, "You must maintain order here. I have to stop my father." Liz is deeply worried too. This situation could hurt Alan's feelings. Alan recalls his father expelled him, but reassures, "Don't worry, that won't happen." Beatrice fights a demon, but it can't harm her, because she is invisible, and the demon realized she used Mylene's power. It can't stand before her, so it flees. Then Mylene throws a dagger at it. Beatrice seizes the opportunity and kills the demon. Clark approaches Beatrice to thank her for helping, but she says, "No time to talk. Demons are about to attack. You must help me." Noel arrives with many weapons, but the true mastermind of this plan was radiating an extraordinary power. Edward and Akira join to try defeating him, but they fail. Edward tells Akira that Crage possesses an ability to see the future, but that kind of power requires tremendous concentration, and he cannot use it in the midst of this fight. Edward says to Crage, "Your wife would never have wanted you to take this path." Crage replies, "I foresaw her death. As soon as I knew, I tried everything to save her, but nothing worked." To him, it felt like the gods and their so-called gifts had failed. His wife's special power, known as the Holy Grey or Sacred Mother, led people to believe her child would be a hero, but she gave birth to Alan, whom they called a failure. In his rage, Crage decides the world must be rid of all gifts and even exchanges his life force to become powerful. Akira attacks him with lightning power. At one time, their powers were at exactly the same level, but shortly after, Crage overpowers her. Only Edward remains. And realizing Crage's power source comes from demons, he warns, "If you don't stop, you'll be killed here too." But Crage strikes Edward. Edward feels darkness consuming him. He tries to reason with Crage, but Crage will not listen and kills him. Then he turns on Akira. Just as he is about to strike her, Alan arrives and saves her. Crage laughs. "My useless son comes to stop me." He attacks Alan, but Alan blocks easily. Crage asks, "Who are you really?" Alan replies, "You already know. I am a failure. Yet I will never abandon my people. My mother wouldn't have wanted this either." Crage grows even angrier, warning Alan, "Never speak the name Mariel." He strikes again. Alan senses Crage's anger, hatred, but also his sorrow and deep love for his wife. Alan knows vulnerabilities can break people, but he had resolved not to get involved. Still, others depend on him, and he steps in to protect them. Alan unleashes full power, but it fails to affect Crage. Crage's power is destroying even himself. In a final surge, Crage releases all his power at once to annihilate everything. Alan enters the magic-created vortex. He locates Crage's magic core and destroys him, halting the destruction. Crage returns briefly before dissolving into ash. He whispers, "I fulfilled what was destined. Even in death, I remember my wife." Shortly after, Alan meets the king. Having saved the capital, he is offered the title of Duke, but he declines. Knowing Alan would refuse, the king expected it. Princess Reese had told him much. Alan plans to return to Greenhole. Reese arrives, and because Alan declined the title, she accepts it instead. Now, all territories of the Westfell family fall under Reese's stewardship. Noel asks, "What about Beatrice?" Reese explains that Beatrice was the royal bodyguard, but now that Reese is no longer part of the royal family, Beatrice resigns. Still, Reese is not worried. She knows Beatrice will find a way to stay by her side. Reese departs for the West Wealth territory.